We're live.
Welcome, everybody, to the Ice Council. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. Please be seated. Once again, welcome to our monthly council meeting. Those are at home, welcome you also. And so we're going to start off with the roll call. Penny, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Burns.
Here.
Miss Angeline.
Here.
Miss Meyer.
Here.
Miss Meister.
Here.
Mr. Babel.
Here.
Miss Bolton.
Here.
We have a four. And a message.
And an echo.
All right, so the first thing on our agenda tonight is we have a motion to approve the minutes from each 27-25 special council meeting. You should have those in your packet. You want to take a minute or two to sort of review those. And then after that, I would entertain a motion to approve.
I wasn't at the meeting, but I did have a question about the minutes.
Sure.
Under the village solicitor's report, it says the PAC may meet in council chambers. That is not
That is not
accurate.
correct.
That is not correct. And that needs to be corrected in the minutes.
Yeah, I know. Can't be on any village property. I just put proof on that. Any other questions or corrections? So Penny, you'll go ahead and correct that in the official minutes. Thank you. You have a motion to approve the minutes. So moved. Motion made by Mr. Babel. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Bolton. Any further discussion? Penny, call the roll, please.
Mr. Burns.
Yes.
Miss Angeline.
Yes.
Miss Meyer.
Yes.
Miss Meister.
Staying.
Mr. Babel.
Yay.
Miss Bolton.
Yay.
Motion passes 5-0, one abstention. I want to go, just before we go any further, just for those at home, if you are not receiving the weekly updates, please make sure you email or call me, or you can email Penny Williams at our email address. We'll add you to the list. But for those who did receive it at home, you have a copy also of the pay ordinance, the same thing that the council members have. And you're probably going to see some notations on there. Those notations sort of separate whether it's a water department expenditure or it's a village expenditure. So that's why those notations are there. Ms. Oser's on vacation, so she's not here to answer any questions. But if anybody has a question about it on council, I'd like to get that in the record and we'll get you the answers that you require.
Are we looking at that now?
I'm just asking you, you can look at them now.
I didn't know if that's what we were taking.
That's what we're waiting for. Do you have any questions?
All right, yeah, the Zimmer tractor for $18,564.
It's a lawnmower. It's misrepresented here as a maintenance expense for waterworks.
Oh, okay, yeah, that it did say maintenance. That's why I thought John would know.
So we're gonna need to get Cindy to correct that too. And any other questions on the expenditures? For those in the audience, so you know, funds have to be separated out. In other words, if it's a Cleves water works expenditure, it is charged to them. It's not something that comes out of our general fund. And so thank you for catching that on the. Any other questions? There's no other questions. Do I have a motion to approve P ordinance 09-2025?
I'll make that motion.
Motion made by Mrs. Bolton,
I'll second.
second by Ms. Meyer. Any further discussion? Penny, please call the roll.
Mr. Burns.
Yes.
Miss Angeline.
Yes.
Miss Meyer.
Yes.
Ms. Meister,
Yes.
Mr. Babel,
Yay.
Ms. Bolton.
Yay.
Motion passes 6-0. The next on your agenda, and if I may, just for a second, for those at home that don't know, and those here tonight that don't know, we have rejoined Wheat Ride. This is our second year. And Maddie Hart is our representative here tonight. I don't remember your name.
I don't know if we've met yet.
Okay. Well, won't you tell us your name?
Ralph Combs, I'm epidemiologist at the county, so doing a lot of data analysis for public health.
Very, very good. And you're here to present, I believe, the community health assessment. Penny, did everybody get a copy of this out in the audience or not?
I have some.
Maddie has them. Maddie brought them with her.
Okay, very good. So Maddie, you want to go ahead and walk us through this?
Sounds good. Thanks. We have some other stuff. Okay.
Thank you.
All right, we might have to share back here. Yeah, I already have this for the last meeting. Absolutely. A lot of information.
I've got one.
All right, thank you all for giving us the time to speak this evening. My name is Maddie Hart. I'm a population health specialist at the Milwaukee County Health Department. I'm a law student at epidemiologist. Today we're going to be briefly going over the Cleves community health assessment with the hopes of providing you with a clear picture of the village's health status as well as the various factors that contribute to it. So this is a benefit that the village of Cleves receives as a Weed Thrive community. I'm very fortunate to get to work with the Cleves Weed Thrive team, who has been doing some amazing work over the past 2 years to support the health of their community. If you're familiar, I know the way I'm giving a brief overview, but the goal of Weed Thrive is to connect public health with communities, schools, and childcare providers with the hopes of creating long-lasting change relating to health, safety, and well-being. So I'm just going to start off by going over a brief overview of what we're going to talk about today. We're going to start off by reviewing some key information about where we got this data and the process that we followed to generate this report. Next, we'll get into the actual assessment by reviewing some demographic data to establish community context, followed by data relating to health and health outcomes, economic stability, and the neighborhood and built environment health. So all this data helped our team identify certain assets and opportunities and then recommendations, which are just the next steps that you all can follow to continue to support the health of your community. For the sake of time, we're not going to go through every single data point in your packet today, but if you do have any questions, we're happy to answer them.
So as Maddie just said, this community health assessment we put together specifically for communities. Every 3 years, we do a broader health assessment for the entire county. And then as a part of being a part of the We Thrive initiative, we also do these smaller assessments, a little more compressed for these specific communities. So the data that you're seeing here is collected from a variety of sources, some of which we collect ourselves in the health department. A lot of it we're getting from the state Department of Public Safety, Department of Health, and also a lot of Census Bureau data there. So really with these assessments here, what we're trying to do is take all of that kind of secondary data that we collect, and then also through the We Thrive initiative and just different surveys we put out, trying to get some feedback from the community itself and kind of merge those two together to put together this report to kind of talk about, what are the assets for promoting health in the community, what are some opportunities that we can identify to work on, and then what are some next steps from there. So a lot of this data we're able to get specific to Cleves with some of the different health outcomes. We have addresses so we can identify, residents of Cleves versus not. Some of it we're only able to get at the zip code level, which for the zip code here includes North Bend, Addison, and parts of Miami Townships, but we make sure to note that in the report itself. So just going through the assessment really quickly here. like I said, we kind of start off with this broader community context here. So there's about 3,400 people living in Cleves at the latest census assessment of 2023. About 55% of the population is male, 45% female. The population under 18 makes up the largest percent of the community here. And then non-Hispanic white is the largest race and ethnicity group. Going through to the healthcare and health outcomes here, like I said, I'm not going to go through everything here, but I just wanted to kind of mention some key things that we found here. With the leading causes of death, we see heart disease, cancer, accidents. There's really nothing out of the norm there. That's pretty common across the county, the state, across the nation. I think heart disease and cancer make up about 40% of deaths every year in the United States. So it's not too common, or not too uncommon there. And just for your education, accidents are pretty much any kind of unnatural, unintentional death. Most commonly it's drug overdoses, but it can also be falls or motor vehicle crashes, like that. So like I said, when we're doing this health assessment, we try to look at your different metrics, and then we compare them to metrics we calculated for other villages throughout Hamilton County. So in doing so, while heart disease, cancer, accidents, all the top 3 leading causes of death, we did note that for heart disease, the rate at which Cleves residents die from heart disease is about 1.5 times higher when compared to other villages in Hamilton County, which is something we wanted to note. But on a more positive thing in there, we see the independent living difficulty metric there, which is basically a survey from the Census Bureau, kind of looking at, can residents, can adults do errands, go to doctor appointments, all those kind of things independently. And we looked at that for Cleves. Your percentage was 1.5 times lower compared to other villages, which is a positive thing there. Moving on quickly, just economic stability. The only thing I wanted to kind of point out here, and if you have specific questions about metrics and how you compare all that, I have to go through all that. But for some of the things that we were looking at specifically, households with no vehicle available, it's only 1.2%, which is almost 6 times lower compared to other villages. So it's very great, very independent population able to get around, which is good. Especially when we consider kind of a more spread out community here. Public transport's not reaching out here. It's nice that people are able to get around. For the neighborhood and built environment, one thing that we also noted there that I think the We Thrive team is kind of zeroing in on and wanting to talk about more is related to motor vehicle crashes. No fatal motor vehicle crashes, which is great. But the percentage of motor vehicle crashes that involve a child or a teenager was 25% of all crashes in Cleves. Which we noted because it's about 1.8 times higher compared to other villages around Cleves. But also part of this built environment, we kind of look at childhood lead poisoning as well. And this is just a metric of kids who aren't being tested, so there's definitely some gaps in this data here. But less than 1% of children under 5 tested positive for an elevated blood lead level, which is about 2.2 times lower than other villages around, which is great there. And so when we kind of come out of these, like I said, we like to try to identify where the assets and where the opportunities, and then what recommendations we can come up with. So, Patty, got some of those?
So I'm going to get into the assets that we wrote. These are going to be more towards the back of your packet in the little green box. So starting off with the top, we have that Cleves Community Park promotes physical activity and social connectedness. Percentage of also the vehicle, like Ross mentioned, is very high. Villages, so the blood lead level, and then independent living difficulty is another metric we guys out. Cleves provides residents with a variety of recreational amenities, including a basketball court, pickleball court, walking paths, and soccer fields. Three Rivers School District is a youth-run school dedicated to supporting health and wellness of students and staff alike. And then lastly, you will have a prescription drug drop-off box here in the municipal building, which provides a secure option for safe drug disposal. So these are really just ways that we found that Cleves is excelling and promoting health and safety for their residents, and we thought that these really spoke to what we're doing. So moving on to opportunities, these are just some examples of areas where we see the potential to expand on the work that you're already doing. Now, it's important to note that these are things that we noticed in the data based on our landscape and data reviews. But this type of data is only part of the story. We recognize that you all are the ones who are living and working in Cleves, so you might have a different idea. But this is just what we identified based solely on the data we reviewed. But each opportunity correlates directly to a recommendation, so I'm just going to jump ahead to those, which are going to be on the last page of your packet. But you have the full list of opportunities in your assessment as well. So starting off, we said potentially collaborate with Lighthouse Youth Services to establish additional sites, partner with local organizations to expand access to affordable healthcare, resources for uninsured residents with disabilities, work with the EPI team at the health department to investigate best practices involving children and teenagers, partner with the American Heart Association to implement programs that emphasize chronic disease prevention and raise awareness for heart disease and stroke, create policy around smoke-free or tobacco-free playgrounds and other community open spaces, create a breastfeeding friendly space within village-owned property, and then lastly, implement cradle-free zones at all village-owned property. But we're not saying that you have to take action based on the recommendation you have listed here. These are just some ideas of the potential next steps I bet should you be interested. And that's all the information we have for you today. There is some contact information on the back of your packet. I can talk part with me as well if you're interested in learning more about Lead Drive or having other questions. And I think you guys have any questions? Or
I do. I have a question. We are very low percentage on the 65 years plus as far as our age demographic. Yet we're 1.5 times higher than others when it comes to heart disease. So that means my odds of getting heart disease go way up because I live in Village Cleves. I'm trying to connect these dots and say,
yeah, we're not necessarily saying, because you live in Cleves, that means that because you're living in Cleves, you're at a higher basis. Pretty much just looking at the population, Cleves.
sure it's like lifestyle.
There's lifestyle, there's so much that goes to heart disease.
Yeah, because
and maybe, we're capturing people that maybe live here the whole life, or maybe just live here for a year or two.
because the average for Hamilton County villages for 65 years and older is 17.8%, and it's only 6.2% here in Cleveland.
Yeah.
A big G. I know we got a lot of young families, new subdivisions with young people moving in, but I was curious. That's a pretty big difference.
It'd be interesting to look at this data we have available. We don't necessarily dig that deep into these initial assessments, but I mean, we could see
Well,
the
it's
age.
in the census.
No, the demographics is from the census, and then we're looking at how many people died of heart disease. That's like death certificate, death record data that we have access to. So we could give a breakdown of the age of which.
Was this all between 2017 and 23? Is any of this data more current?
2019 and 2023.
Okay.
This is what we have right there. The census
Okay.
in December here, the census Bureau will put out data for 2024. So
Okay.
it's all
All right. It's interesting.
Question out the audience.
I had a question. You were talking about drill down as far as correlation and connection. And since these are 65 and older adults, to Ms. Bolton's point, is any of this due to, or can you say if these individuals have applied for Medicare, have insurance, or any of these type of things? I mean, since their disease state is so much higher, could it be because they don't have access to care due to financial reasons with no insurance?
Yeah, I mean, we kind of look at broad strokes, like, what percentage of the population, I don't know if you have a, but, 5% of the population, is uninsured.
Uninsured.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
As far as, that's not necessarily something for like death certificate data. We don't necessarily get to see if that person was uninsured or if they weren't uninsured. Yeah, so I mean, it's certainly possible, but that's honestly data that we don't know.
It just provides an opportunity if those individuals or some of them are not, then maybe it's access to healthcare.
Sure.
That's part of the problem.
Or access to preventative care.
For them, yeah.
I know you talk about lead poisoning for children under 5. What are the effects for children over the age of 5, lead poisoning?
They typically look at, the reason they typically look at under 5, and I'm no lead poisoning expert by any means, but I think typically in the studies that I've done, before 5 has had the most significant effect on the neurological developments.
Because they'll chew on anything.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
cells, yeah, whereas an older child won't.
And the,
Chew on toys and,
the younger a child is, the less chance they have of fighting off any type of type disease. And in there, we highlight, this housing metric here, housing built prior to 1979. Because it was at that time from 80s and beyond when different laws were passed that basically outlaw using lead paint in households when they're building them. So that's typically what we kind of look at as like kind of the best metric we have available for lead exposure. But typically, like I said, yeah, that under the age of 5 is really what is typically looked at because that's one of the most severe neurological development problems or somebody is exposed at a very young age.
Something I'd like to talk about our next week board meeting. But I was wondering if it would be beneficial for children over the age of 5 too to look into, if there's anything.
Yeah, we can definitely talk about it. We have a pretty, significant team at our health department that works on lead reduction and lead, investigating those issues, so I can definitely reach some information.
Yeah.
next week.
What is a no idle free policy?
So those are just, policies that would prohibit, someone from being in their car and just sitting on their phone and just having their car run and run and run, while they're, somewhere else. It's really just an environmental health policy, trying to reduce pollution. You can only really do something like that, like a real estate property, anything like that. But that was just one of the recommendations. We got some consistent with that.
I just have a question, simply building up Ted's. Three River School System, for example, is in Cleves. Do they have a policy about their buses running? I mean, I don't know myself, but are you aware of anything?
That's a good question. I do not know.
The reason I'm asking that question, having been not in Cleves, but in other communities, they generally do. Okay. So I think what you're probably talking about is, let's say, for example, Stephanie has a shop down on South Miami. You're looking at maybe somebody who is parked there, running their engine, polluting the area, which would seep into her shop and other areas there, which that's, I think, what you're talking about.
Yeah, it's just really from that environmental health perspective, just trying to cut down on it.
And so we have no policies like that, correct?
Not when we did, these things were found for our landscape reviews, so we had like our population health specialists and our epidemiologists just go through and like walk the community and like look online. So we didn't find it there. If it does exist, we'd love to know, but that's just how we got that information.
So your recommendation would be to this council to go ahead and adopt the policy?
Yeah, adopting is the first step, and then working on signage and the enforcement and stuff.
Thank you. Another question back here.
Building on that also, would there be like a regulation, people are like how long, because I know for like the winter months around here, I do start my car before I get in.
I was thinking the same thing.
Is there like a recommendation, like, okay, like, we do it like for 10 minutes or something like that, like, I get enough obsessive, you're sitting out there for like 3-4 hours, but.
There's not really any specific guidance on that. It's really just trying to get that policy in place and having people aware of it so they are more aware of pollution and the environmental health effects of it. But again, it's not something you can necessarily really enforce. No one's going to be necessarily going around and ticketing you for idling your car. It's just something to put in place so more people are aware of it, but there's no really specific mandatory time guidelines on that.
Okay. And then, one other question. When you guys talk about like, everything Friday, you guys take into a factor of situations that are close to us down the road, like for instance, Fernald. I know that a lot of people don't look at it, but when it comes to Fernald and issues with like premature births and having a lot of birth defects, a lot of that actually is stemmed from Fernald, the pollution that's in the Ohio River, the Great Land, and it's just right over here. Is there any way to look more in depth with it? And with our staggering that happened just last year, I know me in particular, we work with hazmat in my field every day. And just being exposed to that, even though it was for a short amount of time, but it was long enough to where it did affect the soil and stuff like that. Like my garden this year didn't thrive as much as what it did, prior to the signing.
Yeah, I mean, specific to Fernald, I do know it's not a project I was necessarily part of, but I know that we were collaborating with, researchers and graduate students at UC who are trying to kind of take an historical look at it from back then and trace it through now to try to see what were the health outcomes. So as far as that's really a lot of like these university institutions that are doing a lot of that research where we're kind of more like every year looking at the specific things. And as far as the styrene leak, I know we were involved when like the emergency management services were out here.
Like,
But that
my
was a-
houses was one of the ones that had to be evacuated.
Yeah. It's a little bit beyond like our divisions here. We have a whole emergency preparedness division that's looking at that.
That may be a larger EPA issue as well. We're kind of really focused on a little bit of a smaller scale, but it's definitely important. It's just, we don't have
Yeah, I know,
situations.
I tried to look up more information on just like guidelines, because they told me when they were out there, and they put that weird little globe on the, drain checking the air levels and stuff like that, that they were gonna come and do soil levels and stuff like that. And I haven't seen them once, and I can't find anything like get ahold of anybody to ask more questions.
I can give you my card if you want, and then I can try to look into it more at that department, and if we can do anything there, I could just look around and see if I can find a referral.
It's so for all 2 years to. We lived out there a long. Yeah, well, they still have areas blocked off, but they don't talk about it. But it took them a few years to send out to people who live in a certain range. Every year we got a physical. These guys are great for reasons.
Any other questions from council?
Remind me to come around to what We Thrive might do. I get lost in my questions, but when I looked this over, I basically came to the conclusion we're weirdly young and very smoky. COPD and heart disease is probably a pretty good indicator of we smoke too much here. I didn't see, like, we can't govern, if that's the case, we can't govern the behavior of our citizens. And we do have smoking policies on our campuses, but I didn't know if anybody are you in general bold enough to make assertions like that based on those particular data points standing out? And I'm just gonna try to blurt out as many as I can so I don't forget. Sure. So you can forget which ones came and you can answer. When I see the demographics, seeing that same as Linda did, I think that reflects that 30 to 40% of our housing stock is constructed in the last 25 years, 20 years, and people simply haven't aged in place yet. Or it might be the kind of housing that you would not age in place. And I didn't know if that might impact your analysis if you ever went that far. Like, I assume that when you saw this, that looked a little weird.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely, if we look at villages as a whole, I mean, that 30 to 49 is the most common, followed by the under 18. When I looked at that as somebody who grew up over in Miami Township, but moved away a couple years ago, I just saw that and thought, I guess, you know, a lot of families living in Cleves, I don't know.
It's probably the neighborhoods with from kids.
Well, it's also weird thing. So 30 to 49 is 19 years, 18 to 29 is 11 years. So that's not normalized either. But I guess what I want to ask is, because your frame of reference was other villages, you know, the early pages are not benchmarked to them, and that would be an interesting thing to include in this representation of it. I don't think we suffer for it particularly, but you noted the absence of people who don't have a car. Right? Well, you don't have a choice here. There is no bus. Like the nearest bus is 5 miles away. So that's kind of a survivor effect there. There's not going to be any other outcome unless it's somebody stuck in their house relying on taxis. Yeah.
Uber.
So
Even Ubers are hard.
I'm coming to a point, I swear. So one thing is we're very suburban. And my question is, are other villages in Hamilton County, which we're comparing to, likely to be equally suburban, or are they likely to be nested in urban situations where they're going to be, there are going to be more families using the bus system? And moreover, historically, those populations have been there and have not actively migrated to the suburbs. So are there important things to consider in those analyses if you went any deeper? Like, are we unique for being a suburban village versus being an urban one?
It is an interesting point. So when we did this initially, in previous years, we compared all of our communities just to Hamilton County as a whole, which quickly determined was problematic because the city of Cincinnati is like 400,000 people and it just kind of dominates the metrics. So we had some discussions about trying to determine, okay, what's an urban center and what's a rural center. Ultimately, my recollection from it was trying to determine, I guess we would just use land parcel data, trying to determine, okay, this jurisdiction we're going to classify as rural, this one's suburban, urban. So we ended up just going with this. It was basically communities under 5,000 people were
Villages.
Were grouped under villages. I think Crosby Township was included in that with under 5,000 people, if I remember correctly. And then over was grouped at that. So that's kind of how we did our groupings there. But yeah, I mean, when we're looking at these metrics, we're including Addison, we're including North Bend in this, but then we're also including, places in North Hamilton County, Gulf Manor, Elmwood Place, places, places that just territory, places that just have, different demographics. So
what I'm hearing is you're not in any way thoughtless about this. So, so I'll take it. One more thread. Apologies. Is there a bin for cancer diagnoses?
a big,
The part in COPD jumped out at me. Was that evaluated there?
There was a cancer number. That's
yeah,
right.
cancer was the second leading cause of death, 4.7 per 100,000. If you're curious about like specific diagnoses, that is data that's available. For this analysis, we didn't get that specific.
I think from what can we do perspective, I think there's a couple things for people to concern themselves with. So we are somewhere in this community compensated for the existence of a power plant. That way. Which will have different contamination of our air and drinking water, and not drinking water necessarily, but it's an environmental, it's gonna be hard to get into the water from there, but like they're handing out money for a reason. They are shutting down sometime. But because I've heard so much speculation, we've had some high profile community cases of specific cancers that are actually rare. So like we think about these things. Coming to the point, have you or any resource evaluated the necessity for radon amelioration? So in my community, almost everybody has a fan or a pump who's bothered to get their land tested. It's just a common thing in this area. Is it something that you guys keep an eye on where we could say provide testing, which isn't that expensive or is fairly expensive to do it costs $1,000 to do the full version one, but like $50 to get it from Home Depot. That which could be cancer preventive. Is that a plank in anybody's plan?
At health department, I don't know. Our waste management division would be my best guess because they do a lot of healthy home hazards. But as far as anything that they're actively doing for radon mitigation, I don't know.
I think we did actually recently get a grant working on radon. I don't know the specifics for it, but I sit right by the lead team, so I hear talk about it. I could definitely look into that for you. I know they have been usually going homes look for lead, but I think they're recently starting to add radon. So I'm not too sure about it, but I could definitely look into it for you.
You have a meeting coming up this week with the Thrive, is there a possibility?
I'll be here next Sunday.
Any other questions?
Good luck.
Very much for coming and sharing the data with us tonight. We really appreciate you being here in the village.
Thank you so much.
Okay, so we're gonna move on and to public comments, and feedback. Everybody, I think, is signed in. If you're gonna speak tonight, I'd like to get a sense of that just for a second. So we can show of hands if you're planning on talking. If you are, I just want, I got 1, 2, 3, 4 possibly. What I'd like to do is just move this around just a bit, try to respect our service director's time here. And, but I asked him to sort of give our council and the public an overview of all the different things that his team has been working on. And I'm asking council members, if you have specific questions to your committees, ask those now so we can get John on his way home so he can actually get home with a decent hour. John, would you come forward, please?
While he's getting ready, why is he so special?
So you want me to send you home early? Where do we start?
When you guarantee us to get up in a decent hour. Kidding.
This report covers the, everything that the activities we've done since the last meeting in May that I had a report. We cleaned the grass, weeds and gravel and stuff around the concrete island and the barrier walls on US 50. We have to go back and spray some weeds that are starting to grow back up, so we'll get that done here over the next couple of weeks. We've been doing our regular round of grass cutting every week. It doesn't seem like we've had any time to break for grass cutting, but
It's coming a little.
3-4 days a
Slow
week.
down a little.
So we're still out grass cutting. We've done a lot of asphalt patching on streets. We did Elliott, Skidmore, Oregon. We did most of the streets up in Westgate. We did Laurelwood, Edgefield, and New Pine and Coleman Woods. And then we did today we did Ashton View, and we also did 4 alleys. The alleys we patched potholes in. Alleys are left go because the traveling public is more of the roads, so that's what we gear towards. The patching that we did was more to cover up deficiencies in the road surface. 90% of our roads are over the useful life, which is 20 to 25 years. So we're out patching areas that you have graveling underneath trees. They never dry, they seem to never dry out when it gets wet. So that causes the asphalt to ravel. So we're covering that stuff up. We're covering up areas that looks like it would be a pothole type situation. So we're trying to seal those up to try to be proactive from getting potholes through this winter. We cut back brush on US 50. We just started from North Bend to Mount Nebo, and as we get time, we'll continue on doing that. We did Lower River Road from Lower River Road. We cut all that brush back. We set up the park for soccer. We rope off the soccer field so the parents think it's a good idea to park their cars right up against the soccer field so they don't have to get out of the car to watch soccer games. So we have to rope the area off and keep the cars out. We did we needed the guardrails along US 50 because we're trying to keep up what we did last year of cutting the brush back from behind the guardrails. We've also weeded the village and state right of ways throughout the village that we have with the East State, US 50, and then our right of ways too. That's all I got.
That's all?
No, that's impressive.
Mount Nebo too.
Yeah.
Thank you for everything they've done. A lot, appreciate it. The potholes. That was great to see that.
Trying to be proactive.
I don't know about all the alleys, but there's crazily a lot of traffic that goes up and down Harriet Landon Alley. That what you guys did there did improve that.
Well, there was one more thing, I don't know if you have it here tonight, but could you give us an estimate on the amount of, blacktop that you put down to patch those holes?
As of today, 25 tons.
25 tons?
25 tons of blacktop we use.
And how much does a ton of blacktop generally run?
It's about $100 a ton. I believe. I don't see invoices, so I have no idea. I can find out from the asphalt plant what they charge us. But I think it's about $100.
And the one that you did on Ashton View was rather large today. How much did you put down just in that?
We used 2 tons of asphalt on Ashton View alone today.
Any questions from council members, comments, or anything that you want to ask John?
So thanks. I know there's not a ton of you guys doing all of this work, so that's.
Yeah, I just want to mirror what, Ms. Meyer just said. I mean, for the crew, the crew we have, you guys do a tremendous job. It's not unnoticed. So thank you, John, and thank you to your crew. You guys do a phenomenal job. We appreciate it. And on top of all that, they also handle fleet maintenance for waterworks too. So, I mean, in all their spare time. So.
And you had to replace an axle like that recently, correct?
Yeah.
So, any committee members have issues specific to their area they want to ask John about tonight?
Terry, you can bring up the arrow. The arrow.
Oh, we don't know.
That was fixed. Oh, it was fixed. Okay.
Scott and
Forgot to look.
Where Sprinkles is the curb there.
I knew.
Have you looked at that yet, or?
yes, I gave my report to Justin.
Say that again, Tim, I'm sorry.
With the curb at Sprinkles,
Yes,
I gave you.
yes, I've been on office, so I'll follow up with you.
Oh, good.
I lost a tire at that. Is that what this is about? It
Oh, you
comes
did?
to falling.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, I lost a tire.
Yeah, we discussed it in the safety meeting.
Oh, good.
Any questions from the residents they would like to ask John? Yeah, one behind you, John.
This is a quick one. I did notice 2 spots that were probably missed because of parked vehicles. And my only concern, because they don't really bother anybody, is there an issue when they fill with ice and freeze if they're against the concrete? You wanna know about them?
Yes,
Okay.
if there's cars there, we can't,
No, I know,
and,
right.
occasionally we do put up no parking signs, but, if we feel there's an issue with it, but, we try to, just get the areas that we're able to see.
Sure.
And then, because some cars just don't move, even if you put the no parking sign.
Again.
We should enforce the tow zone.
I'll
If
send
you,
you
if you,
addresses.
if you got the addresses, we'll get to them. As a matter of fact, we'll be patching tomorrow. If
Oh,
they're in the area, some that we can do. And
okay. I don't have them off the top of my head, but, I'll get them to you. Well, you'll be patching for a few more days then, right?
we'll be patching this week or tomorrow, and then, we probably won't blacktop next week, but the following week we'll.
Oh, you'll have them by then. Sure. Okay, thank you.
What kind of answer you?
Most of what we did was from, where you have the first cul-de-sac, and then you continue on down. We started just about midway there around some catch basins, and then all the rest of it, the excessive amount of blacktop we used was down in the cul-de-sac. The whole road kind of blew up, for some unknown reason. But the base underneath there is pretty crumbled too, so, we sealed that up. That probably took about a little over a ton of blacktop just for that.
Well, thank you very much.
Can I ask a question? What are you doing by the curb by Sprinkles?
That's on, we don't have an answer to that yet. John and I are working on it. So it's when we come up with the final decision on that, we'll update.
Okay.
Ted may, or Jerry, I don't know in the minutes, they discussed that in the safety committee, so we may be able to get to that a little bit later tonight.
Okay, thank you.
John, thank you very much for coming tonight. Have a safe trip home. We'll see you bright and early tomorrow morning.
Thank you.
All right. So we're gonna go back to the public comments, feedback. And this is a little different from last time because it's not a special council meeting, so we're going to open that up to our residents. If you have not registered yet with our village clerk, given the name and address, please do so. I will not ask you to give your address tonight because we are broadcasting live. But when you come to the podium, I will be asking for you to verify your first and last name that you are a resident of the village. And I'll read this as I normally do. Village of Cleves values community input, encourages participation. While we welcome passionate viewpoints, we ask all comments remain respectful and free of disruptive behavior. Our goal is to maintain a constructive and professional environment. Thank everybody for their cooperation. Who would like to speak first tonight? Hands are up before. If Anna, you want to go first, want me to volunteer you?
Yeah.
Podium if you would, please.
We can do paper, rock, scissors.
And Penny, make sure you get it on video, okay? Right here.
I'm already nervous enough as it is.
There's also another thing that, when they were talking about the community and stuff, and then another point about safety and roadways and accidents that I personally see every single day.
Go ahead and explain what you see.
I'm Deanna Weimer. I'm a resident of Village of Cleves. I have been in the general Cleves area my whole life, the actual Village of Cleves for 8 years now. So I've been here definitely a long time. I don't live very far from the school. One of the safety things that I do see every single morning and every single afternoon is the roundabout. People don't ride by it. They will drive, they will stop on it. It ends up like it just gets very backed up, not only to 50, but down Cooper to where people get frustrated. They fly past other people's cars. Kids have been hit. They're not going to pay attention. Doesn't matter how many times parents say, hey, look both ways for cars. I know I tell my kids, they still, doesn't matter how many times I drill it. It does get very frustrating, especially like if I'm trying to get to work and I now have to go a completely different route than my normal route because 30 plus cars want to sit inside the roundabout or take them all away. I know that there's probably not a real way to address that, but that is a big safety problem just because we have a lot of people at road rage, a lot. I don't want to see any more accidents, especially like the one that happened at the light. We're gonna have happy that they put the turn signal light in because people don't. They really don't. In our community, there's a lot of people that just want to go, go, go. They want to think about themselves. They don't want to stop and think, hey, if I run this red light, what's going to happen? My car is going to be fine. But it could cause another accident.
Maybe not. If you're running a red light, maybe not.
Does the school have a resource officer that helps with any actual traffic or anything?
For after school, I don't see anybody. But for the morning, the very first crosswalk by Porter, they do have somebody standing there with a, sign. But at the upper part by Skyline and Bernie's, no, they don't have anybody down there. I did notice that, I noticed actually last night that we now have the flashing, speed limit sign. I don't remember that being there. I did just recently notice that that's actually working and.
Are you talking about north and south Miami, or are you talking over
Going
there?
down Cooper, going up to the roundabout there. It's kind of up really high, like probably above the semi-high, but it does say like, school speed limit zone flashes. I don't remember that being there, so that is something new.
I think that's been there a while. It's on Cooper.
I don't remember it seeing it, but it's actually white now, so that's plus. Another reason why I'm here is to also talk about crime rates and just seeing what's going on in the village. I do live here for so long. My street in particular, I'm very close to with my neighbors. I typically know who has a friend over, who that friend is, which car is going to which house. It's just, I pay close attention. I work with EFA and TSA very closely with my job, so I have to watch out for everything. There's a lot of theft that goes on, and a lot of it's not being addressed.
Is it being reported?
It does get reported, and then it kind of just gets left to its own devices. For instance, I had a mini bike stolen. I put a post out. Another woman and her son reached out to me. The mini bike was returned within 24 hours.
But did you call the sheriff?
They called the sheriffs. They showed up. They went there. I gave them my video evidence, documented, like, hey, this is exactly what it looks like. This is, key points. This is a custom. I was even able to find out the kid's address. His phone number, like his name and everything. They didn't really.
Side note here.
Unfortunately, a lot of people know this kid. I guess he kind of made a name for himself as porch pirate. But with that being said, we did try to take action. We were advised that it probably wouldn't go anywhere by the police department because apparently other people have tried taking action, but he had problems. But it's not just that. We have a lot of homeless, even though I don't think they really touched on that very much. There's a lot of homeless camps along the road. There's a lot of people that's walking around with no shoes, no shirts, pretty much almost in underwear in some cases, or, pushing garbage bikes and stuff like that.
Well, it's a lot better than what it was. I mean, maybe you don't see it because
they use my street very often.
Yeah.
Very often.
They hang out in front of all the businesses, including yours, in the morning. First thing in the morning, around 7 o'clock, you see them hanging around all the businesses.
That's why I don't see them, but I'm not.
Exactly.
I'm just kidding.
That's what I mean. They are, I know exactly what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's not.
Right.
I'm just saying, from when I look at the village, when I first opened my shop 3 years ago to now, like I've noticed a huge improvement. So, I mean, it's still obviously an issue, but I think that the trend is going in the right direction.
Like, I'm not gonna let my kids walk down the Merrilees. They're not allowed to, even though they are older, like my 13-year-old. No, I will not allow her. She has to go either with a big group of friends or an adult. I do let my older kids walk to school, but they are told there is a route. If they deviate from the route, it's not gonna be okay. Granted, my street is one of the more safer streets because I'm one of the youngest people on my whole street. We have a lot of older people that I look out for, especially my neighbor across the street. I meet up with him very often, make sure he's doing okay. The lady right behind me, she's not mobility, she can't move. So I come over, she calls me, I go help. I'm a lifeline. Even though I'm way quicker than the ambulance and I can actually get her up. But to the point, there's a lot of crime. There's definitely a lot of drug use. And I think having a way to properly address that, or just keeping all the ordinance actually abided, because there's a lot of guns that go off. I don't know if you guys noticed, but there's what sounds like a cannon that goes off every single night. I can't figure out where it's at. Some days it sounds like it comes from there, over there.
Scares you though.
I've grown used to it because it's gone on for so many years. But there's also random fireworks, like 1 or 2 fireworks a night that go off that there isn't really a reason. And I know the state of Ohio has one for family, unless it's a major holiday like 4th of July or Labor Day. You're not really supposed to be just setting them off willy-nilly. And just guns randomly going off.
Which I got a call on today, okay, that right here on North Miami Street.
Yeah.
Complaining about that.
So I I really wish that, you know, when we had our regular police department, they helped a little bit better. They were able to pay attention. We actually knew majority of them that came. With Hamilton County, I get a different person every single time. And then I have to re-explain the situation. You know, for instance, I walk in and he recognized me. I knew a lot of the old cops when we had Cleves. And it kind of gave me more of a peace, being like, okay, I know who's on duty tonight. If I have an incident, they're gonna actually be here to help. Versus with Hamilton County, I can make a phone call and be like, okay, well, it's been 5 hours. Who's gonna show up? You know, because the one time, last year when my mini bike got stolen again, the first time, it took them about 4 hours to respond. I think there is more pressing stuff, but at the same time, I think that if it is gonna take that long, especially with the amount of cars that sit out here, just let me know, like, hey, you know, we got a lot of stuff going on, it's probably going to be a little bit longer wait. Versus having to sit on my front porch going, okay, so they're dispatching somebody, and then I'm now getting more anxious and stuff like that. I just don't know if there's a way to better address all the ordinances and just trying to make everyone safer.
Appreciate your comments. Any questions from council members?
I think I asked what street. I live on the front part of North Bentley. Just Bentley, I guess it's split into. I'm right past the roundabout.
Any other questions from Michael? Thank you very much for
Thank
coming
you.
tonight. Anyone else want to speak tonight? Just would you state your name for Penny, please?
Nancy Nicholson. She's provided me the perfect seg. The only reason that I'm up here speaking tonight, and that is, with regards to your all consideration about reinstating some, police powers within the village. At this point, I think it's vital. As she indicated, the response time seems to be questionable at best sometimes. The interactions that I've seen, seems like they're just trying to de-escalate a lot of situations and they're not actually doing any citations. Information is minimal. We don't see them hardly ever patrolling. And I know that that's really not their role here, but it would be nice if they would just like pop up through the neighborhoods once in a while because it's community policing at its best. I don't know what each council member feels about that particular action, but I think it's super important. We've installed the speed signs on either end of the village. Doesn't seem to be making any difference. I almost got nailed today. Somebody busted butt, you know, down North Miami, and here I am, and I'm expecting them to be going the speed limit, and I have some vision issues with depth perception issues, and next thing I know, I feel like I'm almost getting T-boned because they're going so fast, and I think that if we had some more police presence, even if it was on a part-time basis, and people were seen getting pulled over and tickets issued, then we might have better compliance. Property maintenance is a huge issue around here. In the last several years, it has increasingly declined in some areas that kind of surprised me, to tell you the truth. I know there's more rental properties here and there, but I still feel like people need to do a much better job, not only with the aesthetic aspect of property maintenance, but also safety. For example, there's a truck in my neighborhood and there's broken glass all over the back of the tailgate and all over the driveway, and it's been there for literally months. Literally months. I understand the sheriff's department is under no obligation to enforce those particular issues, but everyone needs to keep in mind that the less property maintenance and the less aesthetic appealing this environment becomes, our property values are going to drop. And so that's a super important consideration as well. And
That's all I have tonight.
Any questions from council members?
I will say one thing, at our last safety meeting we had last week, the speed along North and South Miami was addressed with the sheriff's office. We have asked them to up their presence along there and report to the village and to council separately citations, the amount of citations along that area. So it is an issue that we're trying to address, and hopefully they're gonna do their part to increase their presence along that area, especially with the time change coming and the amount of kids that are gonna be walking, up north, north and south Miami, during school hours, or before school hours. So hopefully they're gonna address that issue and police a little more along that line.
They're not necessarily under any obligation to do that though, correct?
Well, I hope they take us seriously of what we're requesting.
Do we have a number of how many tickets they've actually given on North or South Miami Avenue?
That's what I asked for at the safety meeting.
Well, you don't need both hands probably.
Well,
I've been on North Miami Avenue for 57 years. And I see the police, I know what 35 mile an hour is, and the speed limit's 25 mile an hour. And I have seen the county with no lights or nothing speed past my house. I mean, and signs is great. Put a speed sign, but if nobody gets a ticket, we all know we can go 50 if it's 35 because nobody's going to ticket us. It's a changing world, people.
as part of the reason the signs have been put up where we can monitor, the speed, what
Yeah,
happens, we get a report of how many violations there are of that speed, of a certain range.
but does the people that do the speeding get reprimanded for that?
Well, that we can't do anything about that. The
Don't we
police
have a police department?
What we have done is monitored what the reports that we can get from the speed signs is.
How many speeding? Yeah, I
Times of
understand that.
day. So then we have communicated to the Hamilton County Sheriff's Department that there's increased speeding during this time frame, and we have requested they patrol the areas, and we've requested that they give out speeding tickets.
Shouldn't they be doing that anyways? Because that's not just a village thing, that's a United, that's literally the whole form of the police department is to uphold laws, not just for the village, but for all of Ohio, all of Hamilton County, all the United States, like, that's literally the whole reason why we have
That
police.
is, society has changed quite a bit since COVID, and what you were saying earlier about the stop signs, I have requested that they control the red light item, because I see it all the time going to and from work. It's not just in Cleves though.
Oh,
all
God, people
over.
are running red lights all over the
And the
city.
problem is during
Clifton is
COVID,
horrible.
police weren't pulling people over for anything like that, and it's just that mentality is it just continues.
Rampant.
Stop signs don't exist right now. They really
A
don't.
lot of laws don't exist right now.
That's right.
But as far as what the public safety committee, we do monitor that, and we do request, I mean, we're contracted with them and they're supposed to enforce the speed limit, and we do request that they get out there and patrol.
That's my point. I think that they ought to report to you guys how many tickets they gave last month on
We've asked.
main streets.
And that's what I asked at this past meeting, and then break that down of what amount of tickets have been issued on North and South Miami.
Is there any way?
We were given that information a few months ago, and forgive me, I don't remember off the top of my head, and I've been out on medical leave the last 2 meetings, so but I'll put that back on the agenda to specifically address that.
And so you know, in the future, starting next month, the sheriff's department will be physically back into the council. So people will be able to ask questions then.
Right. To the point that we were talking about, Miami Avenue, what about Harrison Avenue? Harrison Avenue is the cut through off of East State to try to get to 50. I happen to live two houses down on that. I could count you every single car that comes down that street speed, especially during rush hour traffic. But the other concern is the cut when they go to turn, they don't turn at a 90-degree angle. They cut through the opposing lane's traffic. It is an incredibly dangerous situation.
That is a bad area because.
Very bad.
Oncoming traffic, yeah.
It's very bad. That curve right there, I mean, like I said, the last time I was here, my house personally has been hit 4 times by traffic of some sort. Drunk drivers, people asleep, people underage driving, you name it, and it's all the same thing, speeding, all speeding. They can't make the turn going toward East State, excuse me, and going the other way. They're always in the opposing lane. It's incredibly dangerous. You can't even walk on the sidewalk for fear that the people are literally going to come up on the sidewalk and hit someone. I just wondered if that data could be taken on that street. If this is what we're doing, if we're looking at the number of speeders and the time of day. The other piece to the question is many neighborhoods have instituted speed humps. Is that not an option for us? Is it the expense? They do make you pause, right? You hit it hard enough, it causes you to think. But
The old fashioned speed bumps that were,
these are the big wide ones. Yeah.
those are not, we discussed that.
Oh,
It's
okay.
Not appropriate because of snow plowing.
Oh,
We did at one time look into, temporary ones.
sure.
But I know what you're talking about. They're coming out. I've seen them a lot newer ones that are like 3 feet in length, that it's not, it's
It
such a
doesn't go
big.
across the whole street.
Right.
They're in the
I mean,
middle
they go
there.
across the whole street, but the lengthwise, they're not the 1 foot, they're
They're
more like
longer
5
and
foot,
they're
yeah.
not as
Right.
steep.
They're not
Like
as
3
speed.
foot
That is
wide.
Correct.
That is something that we can discuss and look into, that we have not looked into those newer types.
On what the fuck is John about?
I have a question, Justin. Students are actually being dropped off and taught at the old CT Young building, correct? Why is that not established a school?
There's a
there?
big
Only every school there, and they have like an alternative school there too, I think.
And we still have schools, I mean,
Yeah,
I don't,
how am I missing that every morning?
because they've been there forever.
Yeah.
It is a school zone.
But they got rid of the flashing light though, at Morgan. Yeah, they got rid of the flash, there was a flashing light.
I'm in the gray house, right? across the street from
Well, people aren't going 20, I can tell you that.
her.
any other questions or comments
I
from
am getting
the,
some.
from the public? Any of our, come forward, please.
So I would like to, ditto what you were talking about, because I do feel that, bringing the Cleves police back is a big, important part of this community. Because, our zoning and a lot of other things need to be enforced a lot better than what they are. And the only way you're ever gonna do that is to make people follow the rules, And, I mean, thankfully, I've had some issues recently that have, settled down quite a bit. But I do think that, there's other things that are gonna need to still be done to try to stop the problems that are going on here. I just came back from Vermont, and I'm telling you right now, it's one of the most beautiful states in our country. And when you drive through their communities, you don't see what you see here, I can tell you that. It is a beautiful part of our country. And I see this community being able to be very similar to that, but we have to make the effort to do that. And if we don't, I've been here 37 years already, and I've seen highlights about it go on, and then things happen that, turn to the other direction again. And, I think, putting the court, back in place, having an active police officer down here that's our police officer. Unfortunately, to get Hamilton County to do a lot of things, you're probably not gonna do. No matter what you pressure them back, they're gonna do what they want to do. And I think it's gonna be a situation where it's always gonna be a problem with them. But our own police officer can at least make a statement down here that, hey, we're not messing around with this anymore. We want things to change, and I do think it's a big part. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? There's no more comments or questions. We're gonna move on to old business. And the first ordinance, we've already done 2 readings on this. And we've had testimony from, residents, both pro and con. So I'm gonna sort of turn this over to, Justin. Then, Justin, I'd like you to sort of give the, council members the opportunity to comment on ordinance. What is this number gonna be? Ordinance
So the ordinance 24/2025.
24-2025.
That's ordinance to reestablish the police department as a local law enforcement agency that's engaged in criminal justice enforcement. And with that, and it's the third reading, if there's any questions from council, I'll take them. If I can't answer, I believe Mr. Merkel will do his best to give clarity.
I think there is a misconception out there that I'd like to clarify. This is not reinstating a full Cleves Police Department with full-time officers, and this is a footprint. But not, I think the misconception is we're trying to bring a full-fledged police department back, and that is not the case. And I just want to make sure that people understand that. Right now, we're looking at possibly 2 part-time, correct?
Correct. And so, and I understand that could be a misnomer. I just did. The amendment, this ordinance is an amendment to, our previous ordinance that reestablished the police department. And this really just outlines and highlights our intent that they're engaged in criminal justice enforcement. And what that means is, while they will, supplement the efforts of the Board of Health, Fire Department, zoning, code, building enforcement, they're criminal justice officers. And so they're going to enforce criminal laws, whether that is a wanted fugitive that needs to be captured, or discharging a firearm, or assault, or anything in between those. That's a necessary component for us to be engaged in criminal justice enforcement, for us to have access to the databases we need to be in full service. And when I say full service, to be able to perform all duties that you would expect of a law enforcement officer. And that's true to your point that it will be part-time. It won't be a full-time agency. Part-time officers that are more reactive than proactive. They will focus on investigations, specifically investigations that are otherwise not being addressed or haven't been addressed.
But the sheriff's department will still be
The other,
our primary.
yes. Well, I don't want to say primary. Okay, so there are primary patrol agencies.
That's
So,
what I meant.
yeah, well, I don't want there to be, it to be convoluted for anyone. So yes, the sheriff's office will conduct all patrols for the village of Cleves. The sheriff's office's primary responsibility will remain providing patrol duties to the village of Cleves. That's not to say that our agency is restricted in any means from taking any action that they feel they need to serve our residents.
So if there's a mini bike stolen, and the villager calls 911, where does that call go?
All 911 calls will go to the Hamilton County Communications Center, and the Hamilton County Communications Center has an established protocol to dispatch Hamilton County Sheriff's Office units to respond for in-progress calls and standard reports.
Okay, so would our officer go take care of that mini bike issue, or would it go to the Hamilton County?
We would work in cooperation with Hamilton County Sheriff's Office. So the Hamilton County Sheriff's Office would have full ability to take action on that initially. If that were to fall through the cracks, or they believe that it wasn't a statute that they would enforce, our officers would then complement that and could investigate it ourselves. And if through the course of our investigation we established a probable cause, we would obtain a warrant or execute an arrest just like they could.
So if the Hamilton County, how would our sheriff know that the Hamilton County is not gonna take care of it?
That'll be a cooperative agreement, operationally. I've had communication ongoing with the Sheriff's Office Administration. Once we get to an implementation phase here, there will be information sharing through our report management systems, daily briefings. I communicate regularly with Sergeant Schmidt now, previously Sergeant Carney, just on happenings. So, in the event something came to us for investigation, we would first reach out to the Sheriff's Office to see where they were at on it. We don't want to step on toes. We don't want to conflict with their investigation. But if it's something they're not going to handle, or they feel is closed or otherwise.
So I guess what I'm asking is how would the homeowner not have to wait 4 hours for a Hamilton County person to come out to?
Yeah, at this point, the footprint of our agency would not have the ability to respond quicker than the Sheriff's Office. The heart of the purpose here is for issues that aren't being addressed currently, that there's another option for a local organic criminal justice agency to pick up where the ball may have been dropped, make sure that due diligence is done. But as far as, the queue for an officer to respond when you call 911, our officers are not going to jump that or supersede them.
Okay, so if there's an issue with a gun going off, then the Hamilton County is still gonna take care of that right away.
So when a firearm's discharged, it's a high priority call. The Sheriff's Office and any other agency, through the comm center, there's priorities assessed to it. If there's discharge of a firearm, that's a relatively high priority incident, especially if it's in progress, and so officers will respond right away. The issue is that when the Sheriff's Office responds currently, if discharging the firearm didn't occur to as an act of violence or to threaten or menace somebody, it doesn't violate the Ohio Revised Code. So, with their inability to enforce local ordinances, it's legal. However, in the village of Cleves, it's illegal to discharge a firearm in village limits. Again, the Sheriff's Office will enforce local ordinances. In that instance, for example, that you provided, that's an example where the Sheriff's Office would have closed it out and we would have picked it up and investigated. If there's probable cause to cite them or issue a warrant, we would do that. Yes, ma'am.
Just, it's kind of a ludicrous question, but so if Hamilton County were to respond to something, would they tell you outright, I'm sorry, this is something we can't help you with? You need to contact your local police department, or do they contact you? Like, where does the quote unquote victim or the caller, where do they stand? Do they have to call in and check on that? Or what happens next? Things like that.
Right, that's a good question. And so again, we have an established standard operating procedure. This is a first step. If this is legislation's passed tonight, we'll move forward with our criminal justice partners, get access to databases. At that point, we'll have conversations with the Sheriff's Office administration on how that'll work, how that'll flow cleanly in both ways. We always encourage our residents to reach out if they feel that something hasn't been addressed or it's not being responded to timely. But the goal is that we'll communicate daily and regularly, whether that's through some sort of blotter or data sharing where we can see what they've responded to, or if our officer checks the daily log when they come in to see what happened and then assess, have it been closed out? Was there an arrest made? Was there no violation? On the other side of that, the goal is to educate the Sheriff's Office and our permanently stationed deputies down here to understand, hey, it's something that I can't enforce, but it is a violation of local ordinance. And once that education occurs with the Sheriff's Office, we're hopeful that they'll then pass it to us as well.
And we did that sit down with the Sheriff's Office. They're on that same page. So that they do have a recourse to explain, yes, that might be ordinance violation, I will contact, Cleves and pass this on to them. So that was discussed. It's just not in place yet because the, database is stuff to be accessed before we can move forward with anything else.
Great, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Will they also be stationed here too? Or will they have their own separate?
They would be stationed here.
So in reality, you guys could like set it up where there would be actual communication, not just a data log, but like verbal communication too.
The goal is there will be face-to-face interactions and live communication that'll happen where we share intelligence going on. Yes.
And they'll have like their own police car and stuff like that.
They'll be equipped with a vehicle, yes.
Okay, so we'll be able to tell actively like, okay, this is a Cleves cop going down the road versus Hamilton County.
Sure, and again, I just want to clarify that our officers won't be trolling, but they will be equipped, in a visible uniform that identifies them as an officer, and they'll be in a marked vehicle.
If I could add just one thing, so those out in the community understand, there is a limit to what the cost is. This council has budgeted $60,000 this year, and obviously, as everything does, it'll probably go up at some point. But that's the cost, so that's a very small footprint.
I would like to add that when we started this whole process, and the reason it was all started was so that we would have a way to enforce our local ordinances, because Hamilton County does not enforce our local ordinances. And going off of what Linda stated earlier, there is a lot of misconception. We're not bringing back a full force police department. Their focus will be enforcing our local ordinances. So as our administrator explained, if there's a call that Hamilton County responds to, and it's not a Ohio Revised Code issue that they will deal with, they will then forward, if it's a local ordinance issue, they will forward it on to us, and then our officer will take care of it. They will not be out patrolling the streets, issuing speeding citations, that kind of thing. The primary focus is our local code enforcement, which, to what this gentleman stated about Vermont and driving down the street and it being so nice. You drive down the street in Cleves and it looks like crap. And that's because our local ordinances have not been enforced in such a long time. And that's the whole primary focus of
So like they would enforce, for instance, I live next to an Indian. I'm sorry. So like they would enforce like the cleanup of the empty lot next to my house with a.
those type of zoning.
garage.
Yes, those type of things we will be enforcing.
And I just want to clarify there, we would facilitate and cooperate with our zoning and code enforcement officer. Depending on what you're referencing with a vacant property, that could very well be a civil ordinance violation. So, we have this code of ordinances, and we have civil ordinances, and we have criminally codified ordinances. Criminally, if you're cited, you go to mayor's court. Civilly, you would go to our newly established clean court. There's no, imprisonment that could occur theoretically with a civil citation, but in a criminal citation, you could.
What is clean court?
Our clean court is our zoning and code enforcement court. So tall grass, blighted property issues, things of that nature, nuisance properties that are on the civil end of it, those would go to our clean court, and that is a civil citation assessed to it. Something you couldn't be arrested for.
Cars on blocks in the driveway for 3 months.
They're on a street with flat tires
Yeah.
for weeks.
The problems, one of the key problems that we find is when you see blighted properties, when you see, suspicious and low-key nefarious activity, that's often the tip of the iceberg for underlying issues, which is fugitives from justice, or theft rings, burglary rings, drug abuse, drug trafficking. The list goes on and on. And so it's important that our officers have a full scope of authority to not only assist our code enforcement officer and cite and charge criminal ordinances, but also if through the course of their investigation, it goes to something that would be cited municipally or the common pleas, they have that authority and they would take that action as well in cooperation with the sheriff's office.
Any other questions or comments? Council, then, if there are no more questions or comments, do I have a motion to pass ordinance 24-2025 repealing or replacing 16-2024, affirming the intent, clarifying the scope of local police powers?
So moved.
Motion made by Mr. Babel. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Meister. Any further discussion?
I just have one other thing or question. So I know we have like budgeted $60,000 for this, and your comment about that's gonna go up. Well, I mean, how much are we talking? Because, two part-time officers. I'm just thinking, like, as we're expanding, like, discussions of what these police officers are gonna do, it sounds like a lot more work than what two part-time officers is gonna be able to take care of, and, where is that money gonna come from?
We won't be able to go over what we can.
Yeah, what's appropriated will be the limitations and, to the community that here tonight and to anybody watching, there's limitations on what can be done, right? And so we have to prioritize like all of our efforts. And to answer your question, when Ms. Oser and I did our 5-year forecast that we discussed in the Finance Committee, we built in just inflationary increases
Okay, so not like,
$10,000 annually. And that's for the cost of fuel and insurance, and other, metrics that are trending that way. So,
But could down the road, you put a bond issue out to increase that?
good.
Okay.
If the
So
council,
if the village wants it, they gotta pay for it.
correct. Yes, sir.
Well, I do think it's like maintenance on a car. You take care of the maintenance, and once you get so far along with it, then it starts to get better. And then the action that has to be taken at that point perhaps gets less. When everybody becomes aware of the fact that, hey, we've got this going on down here, and we're gonna enforce these rules, then at that point, they say, hey, wait a minute, I don't want them over here bothering me about, the fact that I left, a lot of garbage around, or done this or done that. They start going, hey, we have rules here, we gotta follow, and then it gets easier.
Any other questions?
If there are no other questions, Penny, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Burns,
Yes.
Ms. Angeline,
yes,
Ms. Meyer,
yes,
Ms. Meister,
Yes.
Mr. Babel,
Yay.
Ms. Bolton.
Yay.
Motion passes 6-0. And now we're gonna move on to the next ordinance. Once again, this has had 2 public readings. This is ordinance, 25-2025? Okay, and this is clarifying the responsibility for maintaining grass and weeds within adjacent right of way. Any comments from the public that they want to make about that particular ordinance? Or council gives their view? Not, council, please feel free to discuss this any way you want to do it. Questions, whatever you can do to provide you with the information.
I asked my questions last. I'm good.
If there are no questions or comments, I would like a motion to pass ordinance 25-2025.
So moved.
We have a tie. He was louder, so you are number 1, and Ms. Bolton, you can be number 2. Okay. So motion made by Mr. Babel, Ms. Bolton second. Any further discussion? Penny, please call the roll.
Mr. Burns,
Yes.
Ms. Angeline,
Yes.
Ms. Meyer,
yes.
Ms. Meister,
Yes.
Mr. Babel,
Yay.
Ms. Bolton.
Yay.
Okay, the next
Should it
ordinance.
be, yay!
Yeah. Motion passes 6-0. Next ordinance is ordinance, this is the third reading for this too, is ordinance 26-2025. adopting the Cleves Code of Ordinances. That's this blue book here. And if it passes tonight, we'll be able to go on tomorrow morning and get the actual ordinances online. If you're out there listening tonight, this is sort of the last step. And every ordinance we have in our village currently. So you want to make any comments here, Justin, before we ask for a motion?
I've made my comments, the last two readings for anyone new. What the mayor's pointing to is, our hard copy booklet of our ordinances. That's a catalog of everything that the village has passed. So again, whether that's, administrative rules, employee benefits and policies, civil ordinances, contracts that we've executed, or criminal ordinances, it's all there. It's all cataloged. This will be updated once annually. The physical copy, as we pass legislation like we're passing this evening, Ms. Williams, our clerk, then sends it to American Legal Publishing. They codify it, they catalog it, and they add it to the Code of Ordinances. So at any point in time, if you go on our website to the Code of Ordinance Library, you can click that link. It takes you to American Legal Publishing, and you can look at any ordinance that we've passed or have active on the books.
There will be a certain amount of lag time for that process to
The
take place.
newly established ordinances generally take 2-3 weeks, maybe a
Okay.
month.
I just want
To
to
be placed on there.
make a comment about it. It won't be immediate.
The other thing I'll note is that annually, and as we pass ordinances and they codify them, there's a legal review that occurs just to ensure, is another step that it complies with case law. In our annual review, they review our entire code of ordinances to make sure that no new case law creates a conflict with what we've adopted. And if it does, in the case it does, there will be recommended amendments that'll come to council, and we'll amend our ordinance at that point.
Any other questions or comments? Do I have a motion to approve and pass ordinance 26-2025 adopting the Cleves Code of Ordinance?
So moved.
Motion made by Mr. Babel. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Ms. Meister. Any further discussion? Penny, please call the roll.
Mr. Burns,
Yes.
Ms. Angeline,
Yes.
Ms. Meyer,
Yes.
Ms. Meister,
Yes.
Mr. Babel,
Yay.
Ms. Bolton.
Yay.
Ordinance passes 6-0. Next ordinance is once again a third reading. And this is ordinance number 27-2025, regulating open burning. Before I say any more, this ought to make you happy, Winthrop, since you've had to deal with all the toxic fumes from neighbors burning wire off at all hours of the night. So,
They drift right on down the valley over my house.
I'm sorry?
They drift right through the valley, like my house.
Right down to your house. So, yeah, so this will regulate that. And so are there any questions from the audience or from council about this?
I do. I have one. Yep. When I looked at this last time, just for clarification, I would like to, if it's possible, to add a bulletin point to, in section 1, number 2, bulletin point, including 55-gallon or smaller burn barrels, metal burn barrels.
Yeah, I wanted to speak on that anyway before we voted.
Okay.
So the 5 feet diameter by 3 feet height, that's the source, that's the flame. So it doesn't restrict the size of the grill or the pit necessarily. So I don't believe that that's a requirement in there. I'll defer to the law director if he believes that we need to add a bullet point, but based off the language here, it wouldn't restrict a burn barrel like that.
My reasoning was because it makes it simple for the citizens to understand that a burn barrel is legal. And it was just a clarification point on my part. Where, well, my neighbor's burning, and it says here, it doesn't say he can do that. And I just think it might clarify some issues for the citizens.
Rob, what's your take on that?
I think if you bring to anything, the definition of what an open burn is, because there's a barrel built.
Well, just some type of clarification.
Because when I hear burn barrel, I think you're burning whatever in that barrel, and as long as it's in the barrel, then it's okay. So
There should be a stipulation though. I mean, what if you burnt old car tires? You know, I mean,
It does,
is there a stipulation for that?
to read section 1.2 out, recreational fire means an outdoor fire for cooking, warmth, or ceremonial purposes, not exceeding 5 feet in diameter and 3 feet in height, burning only clean, dry, seasoned wood, natural gas, or equivalent clean fuel. Do you want to
I
add?
think we add in the open burning definition, just the fact of what an open burn is, because a contained barrel is not an open burn. So I don't think putting that in the statute or our rules does make some sense, so we just further define open burn.
Well, what language would you use to further define it?
Probably go to yours.
Would you like us to table this so you can research that and we'll take care of new business and come back to that last?
Okay, so we're gonna table ordinance 27-25. Are we coming back to this tonight? or-
We're gonna go to new business and then we'll come back to that at the end of our other two ordinances.
All right, so we have, two, ordinances. This would be the first reading of these, but we would ask, as you look at this, and you should have this in your packet, everybody out there has copies of it. There's ordinance, this would be ordinance 28-25, and section 91.36, depositing junk or refuse, clarifying inclusion of grass clippings and yard waste. And so in the ordinance, Justin, why don't you go ahead and sort of give the rationale behind this? And this would be one that we would be asking the council to suspend the rules on. First, read by title only.
Sure. So this amendment is just to remove any questions or ambiguity that may be there. Grass clippings and yard waste are already outlined in the definition section of the current 9136. This just also explicitly states that grass clippings and yard waste are part of the junk and refuse ordinance. So it really doesn't change anything. It's more of a procedural change just to make it clear to residents their inclusion.
I'm confused.
so they can't have it in their garage.
I'm confused.
So this would include blowing it into the roadway.
Okay,
The deposit, sweeping, or blowing of such materials in the public streets, alleys, sidewalks, or rights of way shall be deemed a violation of this section and a public nuisance. So as it currently reads, it would read that, I don't have it in front of me, but it reads that refuse cannot be deposited into the roadway, alleys, or right of ways. Now, if you read further into that, the definition section, grass clippings and yard waste are already outlined as refuse in our ordinance. This just states it outright.
I think the word deposit is what threw me off. When you said you can't blow grass clip, oh, okay, I understand now.
How about snow?
I was just gonna say, can this be expanded to include snow in the wintertime?
Yeah.
How do you like?
Sure, I didn't hear your question.
Or then could this ordinance be expanded to include snow in the wintertime? People that shovel their driveway and just have it up on the sidewalk or someone else's driveway?
I would,
Yeah.
I would,
I mean, it's not specified as a type of, but
I think that's a good point. I think that the separate ordinance, specifically saying the deposit of snow or ice precipitation is banned. I think it's a separate ordinance would maybe serve better, which is it's a good point.
that's actually something we need to discuss before going into the winter season, because last year there were issues
on the main street where our maintenance used they were just plowing it up and the corners were so piled high, you had to walk out into the street, across the street. We can't do it.
Yeah, and I understand that, and being in those vehicles myself, I think that with the amount of snow that we had, it was very
The 12
difficult.
inches was not a usual event, but we need to be a little
Right.
more
I do
conscious
agree.
about what we're doing when we're doing that,
I agree,
especially if we're going to ask for residents.
absolutely.
If I could just make one comment about this particular ordinance. One of the things we're trying to prevent, and we just had it up on East State, people cutting their grass into the street. That's a danger for motorcycles to start off with, but number two, it washes into our stormwater system. It clogs things up. That also is an issue because down here in the downtown area where that stuff, collects, it clogs up all our pipes. So it's designed to make sure that that's not contributing to the problem. Any other questions or comments? If there are not any questions or comments, I would ask for a motion to suspend the rules for ordinance 26-2025, amending section 91.36, depositing junk or refuse, clarifying inclusion of grass clippings and yard waste. And that would be only to suspend the rules and read it by title only. Do I have a motion for that purpose? So moved. Motion made by Mr. Babel.
Second.
Second by Ms. Meyer. Any further comments? No further comments. Penny, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Burns,
Yes.
Miss Angeline,
Yes.
Ms. Meyer,
Yes.
Ms. Meister,
Yes.
Mr. Babel,
Yes.
Mr. Bolt, or Ms. Bolton.
Now I need a motion to pass and adopt ordinance 28-2025, amending section 91.36, depositing junk or refuse, clarifying inclusion of grass, clippings, and yard waste. Do I have a motion?
Then moved.
Motion made by Ms. Angelina,
Second.
second by Ms. Meyer. Any further discussion? Penny, please call the roll.
Mr. Burns,
Yes.
Miss Angeline,
Yes.
Ms. Meyer,
Yes.
Ms. Meister,
Yes.
Mr. Babel,
Yay.
Ms. Bolton.
Yay.
Motion passes 6-0. And now, same thing here. This is ordinance number 29-2025. And I'm going to be asking for a motion to suspend the rules and read by title only. Authorizing the administrator to certify unpaid trash and recycling charges to the county auditor as liens upon the property. And Justin, I'd like you to get a little background into this.
Sure, this is an annual, task for council. This ordinance essentially grants us the authority to send delinquent charges in excess of the annual amount to the Hamilton County Auditor's Office to be placed as a lien on the property for the first half tax bill. So the annual applicable rate for trash is $193.92. And for trash collection services, it's $193.92, and for recycling, it's $64.92. Any amounts in the arrearage from this date that exceed that will be sent to the Hamilton County Auditor's Office for a lien fix.
Do they get notice about that before that happens?
They've already been noticed.
Okay.
There's already been notice provided that a lien may be applied. We're required to do that 90 days before. So letters do go out, and we also place that on our bills.
I have another question.
How much money are we talking about? So I'm, I'll got it all off your head.
Right now, as it applies to trash liens from this year, it's $10,291.72.
How often
That's a
do
lot
we
of
do
money.
it?
We do it
Once a year?
Once a year, yes.
Okay, and do we, pass a new ordinance every time we do it?
So, no, in the past, we've operated under prior to my tenure, I don't believe it was happening. Last year, we passed an ordinance for water, so it won't have to be done annually, because that ordinance is perpetual until changed. Trash and recycling, was not done in the past. So we already have the ordinance. We'll also be sending the water amounts down. But as it applies to trash and recycling, we haven't done this in the past. If we pass this ordinance tonight, it'll be done annually, and you wouldn't have to hear this moving forward.
For the $10,000, the village has been paying.
Well, not necessarily. Well, we do pay it. We paid all of these liabilities thus. So we have a contract with Rumpke. We pay that regardless. Just as on unpaid trash, we pay the MSD portion regardless. This is just a way for us to capture the amount we've already paid. So yeah, essentially we've already paid this money to Rumpke. Rumpke's whole, and the village waterworks encumbers.
We've been on the hook for $10,000.
Yes.
Well, I don't know what the past amounts were, but yes, historically we haven't sent these to lien. We've just relied on them paying at some point or writing it off if they sell their house.
So council's doing their due diligence to recoup money that we shouldn't have lost. Correct.
Any other comments or questions? Once again, this is only a motion to suspend the rules for ordinance 28-2025, authorizing the administrator to certify unpaid trash and recycling charges for the county as liens upon the property. I think we already had our motion to approve that, correct? No, we haven't.
No.
I need a motion to approve suspending the rules.
Yeah, I have a quick question though. Recycling is totally voluntary.
It is.
So not everybody recycles. We have a fairly low recycling rate, but we have people who have signed up and aren't paying.
Correct.
Okay, all right.
Any other questions? Do I have a motion to suspend the rules on ordinance 28-2025?
So moved.
Motion made by Ms. Dalton, second by Ms. Angeline. Any further discussion? There's no further discussion. Any call the roll?
Mr. Burns,
Yes.
Miss Angeline,
Yes.
Miss Meyer,
Yes.
Ms. Meister,
Yes.
Mr. Babel,
Yay.
Ms. Bolton.
Yay.
Motion passes. So now I need a motion to pass and adopt ordinance 28-2025, authorizing the administrator to certify unpaid and recycling charges to the county auditor as liens upon the property.
It's ordinance 29-25.
I'm sorry, you're correct. Can't read my own handwriting. 29-25. Thank you, Jerry. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion made by Mr. Babel, second by Ms. Angeline. Penny, please call the roll.
Mr. Burns,
Yes.
Miss Angeline,
Yes.
Miss Meyer,
Yes.
Ms. Meister,
Yes.
Mr. Babel,
Yay.
Ms. Bolton.
Yay.
Motion passes 6-0. And are we going back now to the other one with Rob Dennis Research?
Yes.
So you want to give them the update on the
So if you're looking at section 2, open burning allowed without village authorization, you go down to below number 3, we will add section 4, which will state, additionally, an open burn lacks containment in which a barrel, container, or enclosure restricts flame, smoke, emissions, partially controls the combustion process, and assists in the prevention and restriction of loose ash and debris generated by the burn.
Do you need to see a printed copy of that, or is that good enough for you?
I'm on with that.
Sorry, you're right. Okay. So,
Justin, I'm so sorry. That was a quick read. So it sounds like it's receptacle specific and you have to have something to contain ash of the burn. Is that correct?
Correct, yes.
So you couldn't just go out in your backyard, put dirt on the ground and put some bricks around it and call it a fire pit. Is that correct?
Correct.
Thank you.
any other questions? So do I have a a motion to pass.
And of course, it's,
I feel like that makes it.
I'm sorry?
Not on this, it is. Oh, yeah, is it a third reading?
Yeah.
It is.
This was third reading.
Well, let's. So, I think there were questions.
Well, I just don't think that every fire pit, every fire is going to, everybody has like a built-in fire pit in their backyard, so
Sure.
they can't.
Yeah, because I have it and I feel like steel ring in mine that was actually like, looks like when you go to the, like when you go to the park and go camping. It's just a little bigger. It's still within the regulation. So would that not be allowed anymore?
And no, that would restrict, that would contain the fire and restrict the ash, and burning particles from flying away. And so long as it didn't exceed the 5-foot diameter and 3-foot flames, it would be permitted. Now I think if I heard you right, interpreted it right, if you just put bricks down and on dirt and we're letting it blow everywhere, that would be an issue because it's not containing the combustion.
Correct. Thank
But
you.
if somebody wanted to make a permanent fireplace that would act as a fire ring and took fire retardant bricks and build it to a height that would safely contain the ash and the combustion process, that would be allowed. You know, for example, if somebody wanted to, in their backyard, put a couple chairs out and build something at 12, 16 inches high that would control that ash from flying around, that would be allowed.
But you have to have something permanent then in order to have fire pit.
That would act as your fire pit.
Yeah.
But if,
I think he said my ring was acceptable.
so a ring would be acceptable, and Councilman Babel, a 55-gallon drum would be acceptable. Really anything that's going to restrict the flames and contain the combustion process, where ash is not flying around, catching your neighbor's house on fire, causing a fire hazard, would be allowed.
They have, I mean, it sounds like it's like, she said, an open grate with a fire. She's not containing the ash. In other words, big things could go. There's stuff called expanded metal and it's diamond shaped, like big screen, and everybody should have that on top of their, to catch any of that loose paper that'll float in the air with fire.
I do.
You have that on top?
I don't have anything on top, but I mainly use like wood. Like I do like campfires for like, making s'mores with the kids. And stuff
Well,
like that.
okay.
I don't,
But when you say contain the ash, what, you've seen people that burns paper and it'll float up and get on the neighbor's roof, really. That needs an expanded metal cover on it, what I'm saying.
Normally if I would, you like as a background,
Well, you do, but what I'm saying is, it's gotta be.
I've done 2 readings, but if we're gonna change this ordinance, I would rather get it worded right and just do it as an emergency.
So we're gonna, well, we won't necessarily do it. We'll just table it now and bring it back forward.
Okay. That's fine.
Fire pit.
It is fall season, how would it? This is the season when people are gonna be doing it because of weather. So I wouldn't wanna put it off too much longer.
We're not gonna have another meeting.
Can we adopt what we've got and always amend it? I mean,
If we're going to amend it at our next meeting, I don't know. The enforceability of it at this point is limited anyhow.
is the question about containing the ash.
I believe that's the.
So you have a structure that contains the the combustion process and then building the ashes that build up. But unless you specifically state it has to have a cover, you're always gonna have ash.
but I don't know what I mean.
It says partially. Exactly what I said.
Yes, partially controlled combustion and, the length of all.
I didn't think we were burning paper anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of people still use paper to start their fire.
Yeah, but I didn't think we were allowed to do that.
You're not, but we do have a lot of people in the village that do it.
So I mean, that's the
I
next.
made my neighbor wash my car. So
chimney and we put it in ours.
Yeah, we will reword it.
I think the best course of action here is if there's any, council members that have questions on the language, if you could email me, provide your feedback, I'll work with, Mr. Merkel and we will represent this, more clear language at our next meeting. That'd be,
I will not support an ordinance that requires that every pit has a cover. I'm just telling you. Because most of these backyard neighboring little fire pits that people have don't require that, and I think that's overkill personally. Yeah, well,
With fall coming up, everybody's burning.
yes,
Right now, everybody has a fire in their backyard. We started.
or fire pit.
Yeah, a little fire pit, that's all.
Burn
we
their
need.
ears. We're gonna table, we're gonna table ordinance 27-54. That'll bring us on then to the administrator's report. Justin, go ahead.
Updated discussion on the Addison bulk water agreement. I have a meeting scheduled with the Village of Addison tomorrow with the goal of finalizing the bulk water agreement. Online forms are now available. We'll continue to work on that and bring more forms online electronically. At this point, we've included electronic forms for several services that include filing code and zoning complaints right from our website that route directly to our code enforcement officer and myself. We also put an electronic application and submission process for vendor solicitor applications, and also the no-knock registry. So we'll continue to work on improving the accessibility for residents and business people and vendors so that they can conduct business electronically online rather than having to physically come into the office. Committees and some public engagement. The Streets Committee held its first meeting on September 4th. At that meeting, we discussed the potential for future road improvements. We also discussed an ongoing issue with the new subdivision that butts up to New Pine, and specifically the access, whether we want to restrict access or open the roadway up. A town hall is scheduled for October 14th for us to hear from residents, opposing viewpoints of if they want to restrict access or don't want to. Grant application, I submitted a pre-application for the Hamilton County Mini Planning Grant, was approved to move forward with the full application. I'll be working on that in the coming weeks. The request was for $30,000, and the scope of that grant would be to establish a strategic business district master plan and conceptual designs for council. Ordinance research, I've been working with the law director and researching with American Legal Publishing to draft a noise ordinance, which is another gap that we've identified in our current code library. That will be discussed with committees and committee of the council as a whole. So if you have any feedback you'd like to provide on what stipulations you'd like on a noise ordinance, please provide them to me. Probably do a first reading of that in October. Parks and Recreation, proud to announce that we partnered with Java Jackets to provide hot coffee and hot chocolate at our concessions stand now. I'd like to thank Java Jackets for being so generous and working with us on that. I think that it's a great timely addition for our brisk mornings at the park and our soccer and softball spectators. And last is our trash contract expires at the end of this year. 3 years ago, we signed an addendum to our long existing contract with Rumpke. This will be to either renew with Rumpke or find an alternative before the end of the year. I have a quote that will be provided to me by Rumpke at the end of September. We're limited in the vendors that we can use because there's not many that include trash and recycling. Rumpke is one of them. So I've been in contact with our business agent. They're going to provide the quote by the end of September, and I'll have more information for you at our October meeting.
The last time that we renewed our Rumpke contract, we put it out for bid. The best way is another option. Best way that we would put in the.
I don't know that the best way to offer recycling.
They do recycling, but I don't think the recycling, or if they only do recycling, that's your alfalfa doesn't sell it.
I will look into other vendors, as part of my research. So I'll have more. And that's all I have, and I'll take questions if anyone has them.
On the town hall meeting, you mentioned it's October 14th.
Yes,
What time and place?
just 1 second here. 6 PM at the municipal building. So
Thank
here at
you.
6 PM on the 14th of October.
Thank you.
And we're talking specifically of the, Coleman Woods.
The agenda will be limited to, conversation surrounding the new buying restriction or not restricting access.
Did you have a chance to address the letter to Three Rivers?
I have not. That's on my agenda for tomorrow. I was out of the office all day today at the Center for Local Government Leadership Academy graduation.
You graduated?
I graduated.
You pulled them all.
I did. I continued to pull them all. Any other questions? Thank you.
I'll be very brief. I know Stephanie knows this because I stopped down at her shop today, but I was out delivering, this particular letter. And so I'll just read it real quickly here. Dear Cleves business owners, it's not just going to the village of Cleves, it's also going along 128. They'll probably head up to, up in Miami Heights also, and northbound, NS. But Rob Winley, owner of the Edgewater Speedway, and I invite you to attend a meeting at the Cleves Municipal Building on Tuesday, September 16th, 2025 at 7 p.m. to learn more about a unique opportunity for our community. Slamology is a nationally recognized automotive and lifestyle event with a 21-year history of success. For those out there, they generally draw crowds of around 20,000 people. Last year in Indianapolis, Slamology drew thousands of attendees, built over 700 hotel rooms, packed multiple campgrounds and hotels across the region. The event is family focused with a strong record of safety, high income, and well-educated attendees, and zero arrests in its 2-decade history. Vendors and guests travel from around the world, often shipping vehicles and equipment through Cincinnati's freight services. The 2026 event will take place on June 13th and 14th with vendors set up and a welcome party on Friday, June 12th. All camping will be off-site to encourage spending in surrounding communities. Slamology promoters will actively highlight local attractions in their marketing and during the event itself, encouraging attendees to support nearby businesses. We believe this event could be a meaningful economic benefit to Cleves and surrounding area, and we'd like to explore how your business can be a part of it. Donnie Glab, the Slamology's founder, and his team will attend the meeting that's next Tuesday night here to share logistics, answer questions, and discuss how we can collaborate. So I've been delivering these particular letters out to the area restaurants and businesses. The Mayor Salmons will be attending this meeting also from North Bend, so haven't heard back from the mayor in Addison yet, but I did hear back from Jim Brett from Miami Township because they were invited also. And so we'll have that here. Residents are welcome to attend and listen to. I've asked him to also come and talk about Rob Winley at our parks meeting because there is interest in using our park area for a possible campground. And that could bring in some sizable money into the parks. But we got to hammer all those details out. I had one of our owners here didn't quite get the fact that why are we talking about this a year out in advance? You don't just plan something like this 2 weeks ahead of time. So starting early. One of the things I personally would like to see is that people that come to Cleves, not just the out of town people, but people in the greater Cincinnati area, come back and visit our restaurants, come back and visit our shops. So hopefully this will be a good thing for our village. I'll answer any questions you may have.
What's the name of that event?
It's called Slamology. I'll send you a copy of the letter. Yeah, it's called Slamology, and it is.
Is this something that Edgewater has done before? Or is
They
it
have
a
not
new
done-
event?
They've not done this before, but
Okay,
they've
so
always
this is a new
secured.
event at Edgewater.
Yes.
They're wanting to do.
Yes. And from what I understand, Miami Town is gonna be coming to that meeting too. Jim Brett told me today. Mike Robeson, trustee at Miami Township, also has had conversations with them, so they're well aware of it coming. So the real issue here, I think, is making sure everything happens the way it needs to happen. For those of you that don't remember, the Eagles actually performed out there back in the 70s, and he is trying to rebuild the actual musical stand that they held out there at Edgewater. He's put a lot of money into his track. There's a brand new restaurant out there. So I think he's very keen about economic development, which I think our area certainly needs. Any questions from the audience or council, I'll be glad to answer.
So you said there's gonna be several different bands there?
My understanding is it's a music festival. He's also been in conversation with the same people who put on the country music festival out at, in Westchester that was out at BOA.
Yeah.
That's not coming this year, but he's wanting to bring a smaller event here. So that's the kind of stuff I think we need to get long-term figured out for our village and our area. Yes,
20-year history you indicated?
he's been around 21 years, I believe.
The Slamology has been around, not that it's been at Edgewater.
No. it's
He's
been-
never.
Right,
hosted
right,
this
right.
event.
It's
Yeah,
moving
this will be
here
a
from
first time.
Indianapolis.
The last one
Indianapolis was the
was
location.
in Indy, correct?
Sorry?
The last one I think you said was in Indianapolis?
Yeah,
Okay.
yes, and he's wanting to make this a permanent event here.
It says online that May 31st at Edgewater, they're having a diet slam, which like is a preview
I-
of the main event.
Is that, I haven't seen,
I'll just Google Slamology to see what it
is
was.
that for next year or this year?
No, this year, May
Okay.
31st this year.
So, I'm sorry, this is last May we're talking about.
No,
The next May?
or next May, wait, it would have been last May, sorry.
Okay, that's all right.
Where are we?
You got information. I know.
Yes, are we in?
You got information. I know.
Last week, 6 weeks, it's really on my schedule.
I haven't seen
I
that.
don't know what day of the week it is, I don't know what time of day it is, I don't know what month it is, but it's late.
The second thing I want to let everybody know is that, I got this from, Jim Brett earlier today. For those of you that don't remember, I think most of us will, trustee Joe Sykes has passed away. And, so Miami Township is going to be lowering the flags to half mast all the way through until his funeral, which is on September 27th. I'll get you more details on that. So I did call Paul Beck and I called Jack Riniger today. And I wanna just make sure you're aware, we're gonna do the same thing. The incorporated areas, we're gonna fly our flag at half mast also. It'll also go down, President Trump also ordered it lowered for the assassination earlier today of Charlie Kirk at the out in Utah. But this is separate from that. So I talked to Mr. Beck, and his comment to me was he served alongside Joe Sykes for 28 years, helping guide Miami Township through periods of growth, challenge, and transformation. Mr. Sykes himself was a pillar of local governance, serving not only as a trustee, but also as the president of both the Hamilton County Trustees Association and the Ohio Township Association. I also talked with Jack Reniger. Jack's comments was his legacy includes the strategic TIF development of most undeveloped land in Miami Township beginning in 1995, a move that shaped the township's economic future. He was known as a vigilant watchdog for the taxpayers. Mr. Sykes and his wife spent 2 years visiting at least 2 townships each week, learning, listening, and sharing best practices. So we certainly want to extend our condolences to his family and honor the contributions he's made to this area. And if there's any council member that wants to comment on that, I would entertain those comments. That's really all I have in my mayor's report. And so that moves us on to Linda and the finance committee.
Real quick, I'm sorry, real quick, that meeting is the 16th at 7?
Yes.
Okay.
Very well.
Yeah, we discussed a few things. The action that finance decided to approve was, the formation of a clerk of court salary range for a potential hiring of a clerk of courts once we get our courts. The range of $25 to $30 an hour, because this person is a skilled administrative person, was approved. Finance committee approved that. We talked a little bit about the parks, hosted a tournament with the White Oak Athletic Club, was it? Not for Heights.
We partnered with White Oak Athletic
Okay.
Organization, their White Oak Athletic Club, specifically their girls softball.
Yeah.
We have 3 softball teams that are now using the fields and running them through the fall, so they'll use those through October. They've had at least 1 game there. There's another one scheduled tomorrow. They really love our location. They're appreciative that we were able to extend our fields, and so the goal there is obviously to increase revenue for the park so we can continue to make enhancements, but it also helps our efforts keeping the fields in good shape by having people play on. So, yeah, thank you to them for partnering with us.
We also, it was brought to our attention that we currently have a part-time seasonal maintenance position that has been vacant and open since Daniel was hired full-time at the waterworks. So they were looking to possibly hire someone to fill that vacancy for the fall, for issues with cleanup and stuff in the fall, which we figured out that salary would be well within the purview of the village administrator to make that call. Have you hired anybody?
We have not hired anyone yet. It's a $15 to $17 hourly. It is a PRN seasonal position. It's 16 hours weekly, so the amount paid to the individual selected won't exceed $7,500 that I'm allotted. So it's a contract position.
And it is an established open position. The finance committee did support that.
And it hasn't been posted on the website or anything yet. I don't.
It's completed today. It'll be posted out tomorrow.
That's fine, but that, it was discussed, so.
It's, we have our tech talk with our IT specialist for our web designer on Thursdays, so it'll go out Thursday and we'll put it on.
But it is an ad call, a when needed employee, correct?
It's as needed, not to exceed 60.
Correct, okay.
That tend to be more evening hours.
It doesn't necessarily matter if it's evening or during the day. It's really finding somebody, I guess, create a flexible schedule. So, I mean, the lion's share of the work here is mowing, trimming, and other weed control in our right of ways that our service department just doesn't have time to get to. And so, as long as it's daylight hours, whether that's 5 to 7 p.m. or 9 to 10 a.m. They can come in and take care of a right away and just really help get things cleaned up that have been unable to be touched. It's also important this time of year that we clean our stormwater catch basins out. When leaves are falling, that's most important. It's important to get that done before snowfall. And also with the goal that some of our curbs that need to be painted, and crosswalks and other things should be painted before.
When Daniel did it, I think he came in with it late afternoon and evenings because of the job.
Okay.
But that's not a requirement of this, I don't think.
Their age, like, is there a age requirement?
There is.
To operate all the equipment they might have. to
High
operate.
school diploma or equivalent, so. And possession of a valid Ohio driver's license, so they can operate those equipment, obviously, they have to be, shareable through USI.
That's it for me.
Thank you, Linda. Now, Jerry, I know you weren't present for that meeting, but I tried to throw some minutes together for you. I said I wanted to adjust them too, but I don't know if you had time to look at them or not.
No, I have a lot of agendas
So
tomorrow.
I reviewed
I have,
them, but
like,
given that I wasn't, I heard about somebody that was there would give the highlights.
I don't think I said a lot of the heads, the only thing, so.
I can,
I can just read what you sent me. If you guys would like.
Hopefully they're accurate.
Yeah, I spent a lot of time talking to the deputy.
Justin, or would you like?
sure, I got it right here. Members present at our safety committee meeting on September 4th, were Councilman Babel, Councilman Meyer, myself, and Mayor Burkholz. Meeting started at 7, went to 7:45 p.m. We discussed the curb and sprinkles in Scott Street. From that, continuation from our prior meeting regarding it, the concern is that it could potentially violate some ADA standards. I was going to look into whether that in fact did violate ADA, since the cross or the sidewalk ends at Scott Street on the other side. And so that requires some more research and some, legal opinions from the law director, and so that hasn't been done yet. I'll have those discussions and I'll update safety committee at our next meeting. We'll address it with council. We also discussed complaints received regarding speeding on North and South Miami. We communicated with the sheriff's office, specifically Sergeant Schmid, who's our new representative, how our signs work and how the data comes into us. Coordinated with him so we could begin sharing the traffic data. He agreed that he'd continue the practice of encouraging his officers to do targeted enforcement where and as needed. We also discussed some blind spots on North Miami, specifically Markland and North Miami and Morgan and North Miami, where cars are parked close to the curb, and it makes it very challenging when somebody's pulling out, making a left turn, well, a right or a left turn, but even more so a left. We decided that I would purchase two mirrors to help people see oncoming traffic and post them on the utility poles. Those will be ordered and installed by our service department in the near future. The committee stressed the importance of tracking citations in both our school zones and key intersections like US 50 and US 50 in Cooper, US 50 in Mount Nebo. We talked about lighting and pedestrian safety and some of the concerns about dark areas we have during school commutes, particularly in the fall and winter months. I stated I have a contact that I've established through the Center for Local Government, Duke Energy, and in the near future, I need to schedule a luncheon with them. We're going to talk about that, specifically some LED retrofits that could occur. We also talked about recent break-ins and theft reports, reports of a juvenile suspect that's been involved in multiple thefts, theft of a mini bike, which we heard about earlier tonight. Sergeant Speed wasn't aware of that. He was going to look into it and get back to me. Today's his first day back, so I anticipate that he'll reach out. We also just kind of outlined and memorialized how communication flows between the village and the sheriff's office, and that if we receive a complaint to our village website on constant contact, or otherwise become aware of someone's social media, we'll relay it to them and they'll investigate it. And then we discussed briefly parks and vandalism, whether that be fires that are being set in the woods behind the park, or the vandalism that's occurred. There was a break-in at the BMX shack, our Connex box, our storage shed that we purchased was, the door was cut off of it a month ago. We've installed cameras. The sheriff's office, and I agreed that we would have a meeting to discuss access to the park after hours and the potential for them to begin locking it again.
Was that, nothing was taken out of that box, right?
Hours?
Yeah, did we lose property?
The only thing they were able to get was a trash or a gas can.
Okay,
Is there a possibility that the homeless camps over there are going into the park and doing that?
I think that that's that's
Most
probably.
likely?
Yeah.
I
We'll
didn't
talk
know
some-
that we stopped locking the park.
We do lock the park.
But the homeless camps are on the other side of the railroad tracks behind Napa, and they're already over there
Okay.
in the park.
Okay.
So, and yeah, and we also discussed,
Let's do it.
we discussed that, yeah, it seems that, you know, it's foot traffic through the woods, probably, some of the homeless population that are in the park in the evening hours, that are possibly doing this. Again, there was a fence cut to, the Lower River storage lot at Nyers just a week and a half ago, so, there's a lot of vandalism and break-in attempts occurring in that area. So we do lock the park, just to answer that, it's just, making sure they have the access they need, whether that's putting the lock on a combination or making sure that all the officers have keys so they can get in when they need to. Sergeant Schmeek and I are going to work on that and get a process. Then we discussed some Duke Energy issues at the new substation over on Mount Nebo and the gravel that's running off into the roadway during heavy rains. Discussed that with the Duke Energy representative, and Mr. Linden Schmidt is looking into the zoning regulations for gravel drives. Yep, that's it.
Thank you.
One other thing, it just came to my mind. I know you talked about the alert Hamilton County sending some notifications out through the waterworks bill. Since that's up and running now, have we looked any further? I know you got a lot to do, but what's the possibility of sending that out in the waterworks bill?
We're looking into it, and we will do it if we can. The goal is to get it done at the next billing cycle for our residents. Yeah, the problem there is our staff is pretty loaded down with, you know, urgent issues, whether that's fixing leaks that were neglected for some time. We're trying to be diligent in the repair or replacement of fire hydrants right now. We're also still working on bringing online bill payment in early 2026. So it sounds easy to put it in the water bill, but the reality is that our stuffer can't accommodate a second page like that. And what it does is it takes an automatic task from our pitney machine, makes it a manual task, where our water technicians need to stuff individually, and that's a pretty grueling task.
Do you need somebody to set envelopes?
I mean, it's a possibility. Again, I'll coordinate it with Pam, and if anybody wants to volunteer to help do that, I will. Yeah, well, yeah, I'll reach out to you, and we'll see if we can do that. Just another point on alert, Hamilton County, I did receive some of the promotional and advertising materials, the marketing pamphlets and other handouts from them from my office. They have agreed that they'll set up a booth at the Christmas walk where people can opt in right then. I think that would be a great event to capture some people for Smart 911. So I'll update you on the billing.
I can put a booth at the town hall.
Cool. Yeah, we'll figure out where we want them, but they've agreed to staff that, help us out. So.
Several safety things. First is their collective information. I seem to have come in to town from 50 onto State Road for the first time in a while. And I've noticed that the left turn lane sign obscures the actual stoplight.
Until you get really close to it, yeah.
Yeah, and I almost ran the light myself.
Where's this at exactly? On 50?
You're
Running
coming,
off the 50 on the east state.
Okay,
coming south, turning left at BP.
okay.
There's a good at least 45 degrees out of the 90 where you can't see the stoplight because the left turns lane. I didn't know if that was a change or I'm
It's always
observing
been.
for the first time.
It's always been that way.
Yeah, so this slide, they normally will slide on the guy wire, and if it's come loose and slid down, I mean, I haven't seen it. I'll look into it tomorrow, and if it needs to be moved or repositioned, I'll reach out to our vendor and have that done. I wasn't aware of it. That's a good point.
It's always been that way since they put it up.
I just never noticed it. I will reach out to them. I don't know if that's something our maintenance department would do or our contractor that handles our streetlights would do it, but
It's a busy visual space, so you may not even have options, but I was just curious what people do. And second, I don't know if you ever want to make this an issue. I've learned that e-bikes and mopeds are cool now and seem to be constantly being assaulted. I don't know if we want to collectively regulate their use. Like bike, they have legal rights on the roads. I think they don't have legal rights on the sidewalks. I don't know if they have obligations to keep the noise level down. I don't know if there's age restrictions or licensing restrictions. But things are looking a little wild right now.
I saw 3 boys on mopeds going down 50, on the wrong side, of course, they're over where,
Mopeds or the electronic bikes?
I don't know.
one
All
of
I
them
know
is
is,
one of them is at least, I think it's a dirt bike, a small CC dirt bike, and I know this because, I'm over there regularly in the evening hours to the park, and their common route is down North Miami, and then they shoot across 50, they go to the park and ride wheelies, terrorize everyone, and then I think they go Lower River back. It is.
I saw them heading toward McDonald's, and then when I got to McDonald's, I saw the 3 bikes or mopeds or whatever. They weren't motorcycles, but they're electronic.
There's 2 e-bikes.
Parked there, they were on their way to McDonald's.
It's not only one group.
Oh, I know,
So,
I'm sure it's
Back before your time. When mopeds actually came out. There was issues about all the kids riding mopeds and they put, there was, I don't know, Sissy, do you remember any of it? They put, it was something about, I don't know if it was the horsepower or the weed, but you had to have a license for it. And there was a lot of things that would be legal on the road.
Yep.
50 cc's have to have pedals.
So have they done
You have to
anything
be
with that?
14 years old to have a license. It's an actual license.
Yeah.
Is that
Continuous.
apply to the new motorized bikes that are coming out?
Legislation, I'm caught up with
Yeah,
that.
if there's some, we might wanna look into if there's something we can do with the local ordinance about them.
What are the rules of driving those through yards and down driveways and stuff like that? Are there any rules pertaining to like,
Yeah, I mean, it would be trespassing if they're on somebody else's.
what if they're on their own riding through the grass and all that? That's
No, that's not,
allowable?
it's not a violation unless
Okay.
there's, there is a loud muffler
Yeah,
and exhaust ordinance, and if that were to exceed the threshold, they could be cited for that. But no, I mean, riding in general is permitted as long as on the property.
And well, the county sheriff's office does have a decibel reader. Because back when all this stuff was going on with Edgewater, when they were wanting to expand, at that point, I know that Hamilton County did purchase a decibel reader. As far as loud noise ordinance.
Anything else? I think we will move on to Kevin with the parks.
I thought we deposited this information previously, but, parks meetings were brief. Basically, the only subjects were BMX, wanting to schedule meeting. Even this year, it's supposed to be far in advance. So they coordinate with Justin, I believe. And, there was a complaint about the bike path being literally soiled and the proposition to close this signage or propane, but I don't think we were. Even have forum.
No, it was basically it was you and me. And I did get another complaint from a North Bend resident about it. And I told him at this point, it wasn't gonna happen. We don't have the manpower, the equipment, or time. But we do need to discuss that, I think, at the next parks meeting, which will be coming up here.
Monday. And Christmas walk meeting is Monday as well.
Okay, that's right, it's this month. Next month, right? You.
Christmas walking.
Christmas walk 6:30, Parks 5. I'll give me 1 second. I'll have 15,
I think Parks 5:15, Christmas walk 6:30.
And it's on the calendar on the website. There, it's on the calendar on the website, every month it's on there.
And I will be there at that one.
And I forget, was that the Christmas walk that was equally attended like that, Chuck?
There were people there at the
There were
Christmas
few.
walk.
Oh, yeah, that's right. We,
Because I came in time for
you
that.
know, I give you a to-do.
And it
basically
hasn't been done yet.
Basically, the main discussion was about what to do from 4 to 6, keep people busy. We decided that we'd do something, and that might have something to do with our rain plans as well. Namely, do we have an installation possible at the skate park? Which would be kind of a good place to put shelter, or at least condensed nicely as rain came on all of a sudden. And we just used the Charlie Brown tree instead for the tree lighting.
That's being discussed.
Yeah. But we also have to move on certain expenses.
We need to decide at this next meeting if we're doing 1 or 2 of the Reds,
Oh, yeah.
mascots.
Yeah, part of the entertainment from the concept is for everyone's benefit, that basically there would be up and down the street activities from 4 to 6. So mascot cameos, mobile, what do they call street performers? Chase McCreary on a back of a pickup truck, maybe sponsored by Body by Bender. The truck that is, that sort of thing.
I think that,
Buster.
yeah, it's a lot to discuss because I think people might come down around 5 to set up and get ready for the parade. But I don't know that they'll come down at 4, depending on the weather. And I'm thinking it might be nice to have the mascots at the tree lighting ceremony.
In the parade.
And the parade. So now you're talking maybe we got 2 hours.
And
You know,
they're good for that, but we got.
So it's maybe 5 to 7. So I mean, there's still other things to work out. People that come to the Christmas walk at noon are not gonna come back until, I would think, 5 for the parade. That's just me. So we could,
that 4.
Businesses are tired.
But I
So very
feel like
tired.
businesses would be happy to stay open if it's another hour.
you would think so, but that is not the case. Some of them shut down at 3, even though we encourage them to stay till 4.
And we discussed having the Christmas walk at 11 versus 10 too. We discussed starting it an hour later.
I think our nominal recommended hours are 11 to 5. We know that people will be stopping early. But it's basically at the discretion of each one, because we're not gonna tell the Masons they can't do their ornament decorating at 9 or 10 either.
Right.
So, it is an ensemble event. And that, we're giving that guidance as the organizing group. The other consideration was food trucks, which we've not booked either, but do they want business for dinner as well? Or are we gonna encourage local businesses, something outside?
The small equipment that I was worried about has been removed. So there is more potential to put something in there next to the ramp. So it's a more usable space now than it was before. So I just think we need more discussion about that, because I would hate to spend the money on entertainment and mascots walking the street if nobody's there. That's what I'm worried about, so.
I think if we get the information out to people, I think they'll come.
You might be right,
I mean, I think,
especially with kids, if you let them know that
yeah,
Gapper and Rosie are gonna be there.
yeah, I think they'll
And
come.
maybe the Easter Bunny and
Yeah.
maybe Grinch. You would be a perfect Grinch. You would be a perfect Grinch.
So,
Run around.
show up Monday, yes, we.
Hey,
I'll be there.
Any of the Reds players?
And it's not cheap to get Rose ball players.
No, that's not an option for us.
But we can get, two of the mascots, and what we talked about is setting up photo booths for parents to bring their kids back down, get pictures taken. And they're great with kids, they're great with families, so I would have to think there would be interest in that. If we get them to lead the parade, that would be good too.
Maybe, I know Lily's is having a bunch of people come down. Maybe we could get Bruni's and see who, maybe use their contacts. And, have some of those people in the parade.
Well, I think we can probably talk more about that. On
Yeah.
Monday, so.
Yeah.
All right,
If there's no other further business, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Motion to adjourn by Mr. Babel.
Jump on it.
no, I'm not gonna
Do I
try
have
to
a
beat
second?
you.
Mr. Burns.
Second by Mr. Burns.
I do too.
And, if we could, Penny, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Burns. Ms. Angeline. Ms. Meyer.
Yes.
Ms. Meister.
Yes.
Mr. Babel.
Yay.
Ms. Bolton.
Yay.
Thank you very much, everybody. If you go ahead and kill the feed, I appreciate it.